Jalen Brunson just delivered one of the greatest closeout performances in NBA Finals history, capping off one of the most improbable championship runs this league has ever seen. This is a story of how a barely 6-foot second-round pick that nobody wanted turned into a superstar and an NBA champion. Brunson grew up inside the league. His dad spent years around the NBA as a player and later as a coach, so the business side of basketball was never a mystery to him. What was a mystery, at least to everyone else, was how good he actually was. At Villanova, he became one of the most decorated winners college basketball had seen in a decade, racking up championships and signature moments most players never come close to. By any normal standard, that resume should have made him a lottery lock in the NBA draft. It didn't. Scouts kept finding new reasons to look past him. Not big enough, not fast enough, not explosive enough. And somehow, despite everything he'd already won, he was treated as a low-ceiling prospect on draft night, as if being a winner in college was a red flag instead of a green light. By the time Dallas finally called his name, 32 other players had already heard theirs. The Mavericks took Jalen Brunson 33rd overall in 2018, a second-round afterthought from Villanova. For 4 seasons, that's exactly what his role settled into. A steady, reliable guard who did his job well and never demanded the spotlight. The kind of player praised as a great backup, but never seriously discussed as a #1 option. Then, the 2022 playoffs happened. Dallas walked into the postseason already in trouble after Luka strained his left calf right before it started, and the Mavericks' postseason looked finished before it began. Instead, Brunson exploded. He dropped 41 points in Game 2 against Utah, then kept rolling, averaging better than 27 points a game for the series, and dragging Dallas into the second round with their franchise player on the bench. And when Luka returned, Brunson didn't disappear back into the background. He kept playing like a star, helping push Dallas all the way to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in over a decade. It was the kind of run that should change everything for a player. And for a moment, it looked like it had. Then, Dallas decided it hadn't changed enough. After the best stretch of his career, the Mavericks let Brunson walk into free agency without a real offer on the table. New York saw something different. In the summer of 2022, the Knicks handed him a 4-year, $104 million contract, and the reaction was almost universally negative. Analysts called it reckless. Fans pointed out that the Knicks hadn't won a title since 1973, and joked that paying a former second-rounder max money wasn't going to be the thing that finally fixed it. By this point, a pattern had formed, and it would end up defining his entire career. Winning college, and people say it won't translate. Break out in the playoffs, and people say it's a hot streak that won't repeat. Sign a max deal, and suddenly you're the punchline instead of the investment. Brunson never argued back. He just kept playing and kept making the doubt look foolish. Almost immediately, the contract looked like a massive steal. In his first season in New York, Brunson averaged over 24 points a night and led the Knicks to their first playoff series win in over 10 years. The next year was even better, nearly 29 points and 7 assists a game, his first All-Star selection, and a top 5 finish in MVP voting. Every season after that, the Knicks got better, and so did he. They stopped missing the playoffs entirely. Slowly, the question around New York basketball stopped being whether they could compete, and started being how far they could actually go. By 2026, the answer was sitting right in front of everyone. The Knicks had found themselves 2 wins away from ending a 53-year championship drought, and the only thing standing in their way was Victor Wembanyama, and one of the youngest rosters to ever reach the finals. New York opened the series by sweeping both games on the road for a 2-0 lead, before San Antonio finally found their footing and stole a win back at Madison Square Garden. Game 4 is where things got truly absurd. San Antonio played the best half of basketball of their entire season. building a lead as large as 29 points by halftime, the kind of sheer team dominance that's rarely seen on a final stage. Fans started walking out of the arena early. People at home turned the game off. The series, for all intents and purposes, was going to be tied headed back to San Antonio. And then, slowly, the Knicks started clawing their way back. A 29-point lead became 20. 20 became 15. Then 10. And suddenly, the building remembered how to believe again. Brunson buried a three over the league's reigning unanimous Defensive Player of the Year to cut it to one possession. The Western Conference MVP missed 2 free throws that could have iced the game. Brunson answered with a go-ahead floater. The lead changed hands again. Brunson missed a shot of his own that should have sealed it. And on the very next possession, San Antonio handed the ball right back through one of the costliest mistakes in recent finals memory, and OG Anunoby made them pay for it, completing the largest comeback in NBA Finals history and sending New York back on the road up 3-1. 2 nights later in San Antonio, none of that momentum seemed to follow them. The Knicks shot under 20% from the field in the first quarter. His co-star Karl-Anthony Towns got into early foul trouble again, and eventually fouled out of the game completely with almost nothing to show for it. The bench went scoreless for over half the game. With under 8 minutes left, San Antonio led by 10, and the championship that had felt inevitable just 48 hours earlier suddenly felt like it was slipping away. That's when Brunson decided the rest of the night belonged to him. He scored 15 points in the fourth quarter alone, including a stretch of 13 straight points for New York during the most important minutes of the entire season. By the final buzzer, he had poured on 45 points of his own, nearly matching the rest of his starting lineup combined. The New York Knicks were champions for the first time in 53 years, and the same name that was once called 33rd on draft night was the driving force. Not bad for a player who was supposedly too small, too slow, and too limited to ever lead anything. Every label they tried to put on him, he just quietly erased it, one game at a time, until there was nothing left to doubt.